Hi everybody, Matt here from Matt Likes Comics. Today I'm going to do another one of those introspective videos where I talk about some crap that has been building up in my mind and I've decided I want to share with you guys. I mean, there will be the odd book shown, like Pulsar Stargrave here. But, no, that's Legion, that's Superboy Legion 224, by the way. But there have been a few little thoughts that I've been making notes on, and I decided today I was going to talk about them. With regards to comic collecting, of course. You don't want to know my thoughts about knitting or what my kids have for breakfast. So, the biggest thing that I find is going on, especially in these times of economic uncertainty again, brought on by tariffs on both sides of the border. And that is, whatever you do, make sure you can afford buying comic books. Don't buy comics instead of eating. I did that when I was younger, and it was kind of stupid. Because here I'm sitting there, sure, I've got these box of comics, but I bought a lot of cheaper books, so for the read, I can't eat them. Can't get anything back from selling them. I'm lucky to get pennies on the dollar. So, don't go broke. Don't go into debt. I made that mistake when I was younger too, and it took me a long time to pay off. Because it wasn't just into comic books. I was into Dungeons and Dragons, and I bought every book that came along, especially for 3.5 D&D and second D&D. Like I was spending money that I didn't have, and it wasn't good. What you need to do is find ways to help the hobby feed itself. Make trades. I watch certain members of this community at shows, and they're going in, I've got this and this and this. Can I trade it for that and that? Sometimes the dealers say no. Oftentimes they say yes. So I've watched people, if you've got duplicates, for example, take them to shows. And it's not, you don't have to sell them to dealers either. I've watched the same guy sell to another collector that was there, and found a way again that both sides were happy. You also have to, really, I can't stress this enough, stick to a budget. If you put yourself a budget of $100 and you want a good book, take a little bit of that $100, put it aside until the next payday. I know this all seems simple and easy, but too often where we've got this big book in front of us, and the temptation is, especially with the internet, because that is, don't watch Nate's channel if you're going to spend money. I'm joking. Watch Nate. Watch Holyak Comics. He's absolutely great. Watch Lettuce Comics. They're great. The problem with them is I see something on there and I want to buy it. And out comes the plastic on the internet. Can't always do that. I usually stay within my budget, so I can swing it. But when I do impulsive things like that, I find that what suffers is my being able to get bigger books later. I'm not going to say regretfully, because I absolutely did it, and I'm very happy to have done it. When I bought the entire run of The Ferret based off of one of Nate's videos, I laughed, but then I found myself at a comic shop the next week going, man, I already spent $30 on all of these books because there was a conversion involved. Now I got to wait a week or two to get these ones, and I did put them aside at my local comic shop is good for that. If I don't want it right away, but I'm going to take it, he'll put it aside for me. I like that, but he can't hold it for too long either. He has limited space. So there's always options, is what I'm saying. But before you make that impulsive buy, take the 3 seconds back to look at it. Again, I can only talk from personal experience on this one, but boy, just the other day, I don't know how many people watched that show we did a few weeks ago on Allen, where everybody decided to buy Mr. Canoe Head. That's another thing about the FOMO / way too much money, not enough brains thought pattern. While we're on the subject of money, Don't be afraid when you're in person, even with your local comic store, to try and haggle a little bit. All they can say is no, and that at that point you have to decide. I mean, that's the worst they can say. And at that point, you have to decide if you wanted enough to pay that price. But when you do haggle, and this goes for sellers as well as buyers, when you do haggle, leave some space for everybody to feel like they got something. I don't haggle that often. I'm a big proponent of the price is the price, and I might say, can you knock a couple bucks off? I mean, the guys have to make a living. We are not, ultimately, unless we're willing to do trades between each other constantly, we need the dealers. So we need the dealers to make some money. Don't get me wrong here about the spending, you know. But there's nothing wrong with a $60 book saying, hey, will you take 50? More times than not, they will. But do it nicely. Do it in a way that makes them not feel insulted. And dealers, if you're going to say no, say it politely and not in that grunty, you know, everybody knows that Simpsons guy, right? That's the comic book guy. No, Jeff Alberton does not sell for less than this. You know, it's the ultimate bug. But anyway, bad impression, I know. You know, so let's let everybody walk away feeling like they got something out of the deal. I know this is, again, probably stuff you've always heard before, but this is different because it's me that's saying it this time. Which also brings us next to the importance of liking your collection. There is nothing worse than buyer's remorse. I don't have it personally because I love all and any comic books. I may not like the individual stories in it, but I like having the books. But I'm a hoarder by nature, so that really doesn't matter. You may not be the same. The point is, before you make that purchase, think to yourself, will this make me happy? And I don't mean the happy, well, I partly mean the happiness of finding a good cigar or bottle of wine or whatever your vice is. I'm talking about, I'm glad I added this to my collection. Because if the answer is, like, and even, leave it. We are all temporary guardians of our collection. Whether we like to think of it that way or not, it's the truth. So if you're not happy being a guardian of a certain book, don't buy it in the first place. If you can. I mean, everybody resists. And of course, there's the situation where you buy a full long box, for example, and there's 6 or 7 books in there you don't want. You can always trade those. I mean, but I'm talking about the one-on-one when you're going through the box yourself and you want to look at pulling things and buy them. Be happy with your purchases. I mean, the only time I ever go, is when I buy a duplicate by accident. And even that is like now a minor whatever because I throw it into a prize pack. So I have solutions. Now, next one, and this one I can't stress enough because there are some people out there who store their comics in any which way, which again is fine. But if you want to be in a position where you can find everything great, where everything looks the best it can, switch out at the very least, switch out the bags and boards when you buy them if you can afford to. I mean, there is that factor about buying boxes, bags, and boards. They are expensive as heck, and it can get really expensive fast. So, I mean, I personally don't put everything in Mylar. I put a book in Mylar if it's either falling apart and it's older, or if it's worth at least $50 or more. That's my cutoff for Mylar. But every single book I buy, when I buy it and read it, because here we got one that I recently got from, okay, and I haven't read it yet, so it's still in my comic shop bag. But when I read it, I'm going to throw it away. Same with the board. I'm going to look at the board. If there's any ink leak or any acid wear or whatever, the board goes out. New board. Because boards are a little more expensive. I tend to see if I can reuse them first. So when this is done, it'll be in a fresh bag, a fresh board, you know, and it'll, in my mind, look nicer as a result. And that's another thing. It can get really crazy cost-wise to replace your bags every few years. It's a necessity, but what I do is when I try to remember, I don't always remember, but when I pull books to show on you lovely people, I try to put it in a new bag at the time, which I won't do if I know that the bag is less than a year old, because I do tend to remember when I get comics. But some of the stuff I've had in boxes 11, 12 years, and they've been there since the day I read them and put them away. Those ones, I definitely change the bag, and again, I look at all the boards. If there's damage to the board, it goes too. It's just one way I personally store them. I want to be in a position that when it's time, when I'm no longer the caretaker, those that have to get rid of my caretaking items have an easier time because they look better. That's my thing. All I'm saying is do what you can afford. It's the same as some people do not buy bags and boards. They just want to buy the books. That is fine with it too. But the biggest thing is the proper storage. I can't stress enough that books like this that are slabbed need to be stored more horizontal than vertical, because vertically they eventually kick down to the ground. I'm not saying it's wrong to store them vertically. I've had this one vertical a lot more than I've had it horizontal, admittedly. But it's very good, you know, for the health of the book later to store them horizontally. Alan, the comic collector geek, for the most part, if he's not displaying his books, they're horizontal. For the reason I gave here. Same with boxes. There are a couple of methods you can do when you're piling your comics like this or like this. What I tend to do is I find this works for me. If you look through this pile, okay, you'll note that some are face up, some are face down. Why? Because from a spine perspective, they're not all going like like an accordion. By doing it, flipping some around, like 4 one way, 4 the next way, and so on, I keep the pile reasonably flat until I can get it into the horizontals. And I do the same thing with the horizontal books for that reason. I will ploop like this. If you look through my boxes, some of them are like this, for the simple fact that, again, the spines are back and forth. It's just, I don't want to say common sense, it's just a way to keep them from not losing even half a grade over time just from storage. Again, you got to do the storage technique that works for you, because I can't dictate how much space you have. I'm literally running out of space. And I'm reminded quite often by my lovely wife that she'd like to see me maybe curb it a little bit. And the problem is I can't, as mentioned in an earlier video, I'm a hoarder and a completionist, and it's really hard for me to let anything go. Now, the next parts are going to be a little more, I would say, specialist. Okay? If you are a topical collector, for example, Christmas covers, Halloween covers, all the Flaming Carrot comics, whatever. If you can find a great system to keep track of what you have and what you don't, that would be great. But the other part about it is, and I discover this all the time, I pride myself in trying to get every Silver and Bronze Age appearance of Supergirl I can find. And every single time I think, okay, I'm done, I've got them all, I discover another one. So another thing to do is to make sure that you're checking some of your favorite resources. Like mine is the Overstreet, and I check out the late Mike's Wonderful World of DC Comics. That has a great index until about 2021 when he passed away. It is a very complete. Like you can select lists based on characters, and sometimes even he forgets some stuff. So that's why I say keep looking at other places. Um, I go to the DC for Supergirl. I go to the DC wiki quite a bit because they come up. I've found 4 or 5 appearances on there that I didn't know she had, including one Brave and the Bold. Terrible, aren't I? Granted, she was a small part of that Brave and the Bold story. She wasn't the Batman and person, but you get the point. So I am constantly on the look for that. And the good thing about topical collections is, unless you literally have picked something as small as Nomad first miniseries, you will be searching forever. And the thing is, here's where I'm getting to. Don't get discouraged. You are always going to find. It may take a year or so in between. It may take a couple years. Hell, it took me decades to literally from a kid till now to get that White Whale book I was looking for of the Super Moby Dick of space. And I've had it in collections in terms of, like, the Legion books that are put together, but I never was able to find the book. So I'm very happy, until recently, of course. So eventually you will find it if you keep it up. Don't lose faith in yourself. Whether you are a completionist like me or a topical collector, there's always stuff to find. The next thing is enjoyment. If you are no longer enjoying collecting comics, do not feel bad or upset if you need to take a break for financial reasons, for lack of interest reasons. All I will say is, don't quickly sell your collection if that's your reason. If you need money, that's a different story, okay? But if you decide, oh, I'm just not interested anymore, and then toss everything out, you will find at some point you probably will get interested again, and then go, oh, I shouldn't have got rid of all those. So all I am saying is, if you're going to get out of the hobby, that's fine, but take a look at yourself just before that, because unless you're selling because you need the money, you got a baby coming, or you're buying a house, or whatever the case may be, your girlfriend says, I'll dump you if you don't get rid of them. By the way, that is not a smart reason to get rid of something. But that's just an opinion. Nobody who loves you would tell you to get rid of the things that make you you. Now, the biggest thing that I wanted to touch on today was the friendships. I have met so many wonderful people through comics. There's always something to talk about, because every month new books come out, new storylines, new collections of old comics, new comics available online. There's so much to talk about. I never get bored talking with people. But more importantly, getting out there to comic shows, my comic store, playing this channel online has exposed me to even more people that are into it. Comic fans, as far as I'm concerned, are the best people in the world. The vast majority are polite, fun to talk to, knowledgeable. Even everybody has their niche of knowledge. I mean, people go, oh, Matt, you know all this, but I know nothing about a lot of topics. I am very basic in my knowledge of Marvel Comics, for example. That's something I know I need to work on, because I didn't read that many Marvel Comics when I was younger. I did read Fantastic Four, I did read Iron Man and the Avengers, but I wasn't a big Spider-Man fan. I wasn't a big X-Men fan. So there were a lot of things that a lot of people talk about that I know nothing about. I love to listen to those with the knowledge that do, because I learned something. Stephen Gentner is absolutely an amazing resource. He seems, if he doesn't know something about something, he will admit it freely and want to learn about it. And this guy's been collecting comics on and off for 60 years. So there's always, and he's a Overstreet advisor if you're not aware of that. So you can always learn. And to me, that's a fun part of the hobby. Meeting the people, learning about their collections. You see, when somebody shows you a bit of their collection, they're showing a piece of themselves to you. Okay? They are, because you get to know what they like. You get to know what they don't like based on them saying, oh, I'm not a big X-Men fan, or Superman is a boring piece of crap. You know, you get to learn. And that is the best part of the whole thing. The talking to people, learning things, and just enjoying the hobby with the other people that enjoy the hobby too. But most important of all, don't stress. This is supposed to be fun. If you are sitting there going, oh my God, what am I going to do? I got this much to read. I got to go to work. You know, I got to do that. Then the comic books sit. It's okay. They'll be there for you. I bought this 4 days ago. I'm not upset I haven't read it yet. Okay? I will get to it. Probably later today, but I will get to it. The point is, I look forward to it. I have a family. I've got to do other things. We've got snowstorms this week that I've had to deal with. House cleaning, cooking, getting kids to school, work, you know. But I always have this waiting for me, and I don't stress about it. The only time I find I've ever stressed about comics is when I stupidly get into the FOMO. And until I find it, and until I find that one book and get it in my hands, I obsess. That's my issue. But I will get over that. Anyway, that is all of the little thoughts that have been building in my head for a while, and I thought I'd share. I find that talking to the video camera is great therapy. So, and I share because I'm using this to talk about things that I actually think that, you know, I mean, you can take my opinion the way you want. It's just an opinion ultimately. The ultimate opinion is yours. But all I want to do is to let everybody know they're not alone out there. We're all here. We're all going to give you a hand. We love you, collectors. Keep it up. If you like what you've seen, please like, comment, and subscribe below. If you have thoughts that disagree with mine, that's okay. Let me know. I'm always willing to talk to everybody, and I certainly am big enough to accept criticism. Yeah, I mean, look at me. I take up 3/4 of the camera. That makes me bigger than most things. So, thank you very much for joining me today. My name's Matt, and I like comics, and I hope you do too. Thank you.